Welcome to Amy Learns to Cook. I'm Eric, and on today's show, I'm going to make my tasty Eatin chili. This stuff is great. It's quick, it's easy, and it goes with so many things like, I don't know, chili dogs, which is what inspired me to make this in the first place. This is not competition chili, so don't worry, Amy, I'm not giving out any secrets, but this is just basically a bowl of red chili that's great to eat. It's not nasty, it's not harsh, it's none of that. And it's great for beginners too. So if you've never made a bowl of chili, this is a good place to start. I know there's a million ways to make it. This is just one of them, but this is really tasty. So why don't you join me as I make my tasty and quick Eatin chili. So now we've warmed up a pan here. It's about 300 degrees. It's on a medium high, so it's getting kind of toasty there. I'm going to go ahead and put in 1 tablespoon of butter and kind of let that melt a little bit. And I got 2 pounds of ground beef. If you're just eating by yourself and you only want 1 pound of chili, then by all means cut it in half and reduce some of the stuff we're going to be putting in later. But the bottom line is you can always freeze chili. It's one of those things that it doesn't go bad. Just freeze what you don't use, okay? So let's go ahead and just dump this in here. And the idea is we're just going to go ahead and brown the meat, and then when it's done, we'll go ahead and we'll drain it, and we'll get some good stuff in here, right? And I forgot to mention, you can also use turkey or even ground chicken if you'd like. Just don't, if you don't want to use ground beef. I'm just putting a little bit of salt and pepper on here while it's cooking. And like I said, in a few more minutes, I'll take it off to put some other stuff in there. Okay, this is pretty much browned. So we're going to go ahead and take the hamburger out. If you want to save some time, you can go ahead and cook your meat with your onions. I don't want to do that because as I'm throwing out this water, I don't want to throw out any flavoring from the onions. Okay, so now that the hamburger is browned, we're going to go ahead and throw another tablespoon of butter in there. And just let that work its way around. And then we've got 1 medium onion that we chopped up. I'm just going to go ahead and put that in here. And we're just going to go ahead and cook this until it's translucent. And then we'll throw a little bit of garlic in there. The onions are translucent, borderline on getting caramelized. Had a hard time finding the can opener for my next step. So if you get in trouble with this, just take it off or add a little water or something to keep them from scorching. You definitely want to burn onions, that's for sure. I'm going to go ahead and throw in 2 cloves of garlic that should be minced either with a knife, or if you've got a garlic press and you know how to work it, then those are cool too, right? So going to go ahead and throw it in there. And I'm not a big fan of cooking garlic on high for any length of time because it'll burn and become bitter and all that. So I'm just pretty much throwing it on here for like 10 seconds, and then I'm going to start adding my next stuff here. So since we need to get some liquid in here, it's a good time to do this, right? So I've got 1 cup of beef broth or beef stock. I use better than bouillon, so I can pretty much mix as much as I want. If you get a, 15-ounce can of your favorite beef broth or beef stock, then just use half a can. You're might need some of that if you need to thin it out. So that's just what we're starting off here with. If we were going to be cooking this for hours and hours, then I'd add more. But since this is going to be a quickie, 30-minute-ish recipe, I don't want to have to evaporate 2 cups of liquid when really 1 cup will do the job. I'm also going to throw in an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. And this alone might disqualify this from the hardcore people being a bowl of Texas red, because I'm putting tomatoes in there, right? So that's okay. It's going to be tasty anyways. I think most of us like it this way anyways. But we'll make a future recipe which will take more time, more complex, and we won't throw tomatoes in it, okay? And then we'll call that our version of Texas red. And then last but not least, I've got Rotel, which has diced tomatoes, green chilies. In this case, it's fire roasted, which is kind of cool. And I've already drained out the liquid from it. I don't need any more liquid in this. So this will make everything kind of tomato-y initially, but it'll all blend in. I like my chili to be chunky, okay? Some people like to have a nice, smooth, rich gravy that has no chunks or lumps in it, and that's fine. But this will break down somewhat, so it won't be all that bad if you're a purist and you're hating what I'm doing, okay? But this is all about flavor, and believe me, we're building layers here. So what we're going to do here is bring this up towards a boil. We're still on the medium-high, and this liquid's going to heat up, and then we're going to mix in a bunch of ingredients once we get to the boil. Okay, and then we'll add the meat back in, and then we'll reduce it to a simmer and all that good stuff. We have this at just a little bit of a simmer right now. It's still on medium-high, and we'll be reducing it in a minute. We're going to go ahead and mix in some ingredients now, and we're going to go ahead and start off with some chili powder. Because I got a couple of pounds of meat in here, I'm going to put in 4 tablespoons of chili powder, such as the stuff that my wife made. We have a video where Amy made chili powder. I'll put a link to that video if you want to make it. I think that goes great with here. If you have your favorite commercial chili powder, that's great as well. Just make sure that it's, relatively fresh. If you get some stuff that's like, I don't know, several years old from the store, or if you haven't stored it very well, then you can add as much chili powder as you want and it won't do much for you. We're going to add cumin in a second, and my thoughts are the same with cumin, where we bought some from a big box store. Economical, but guess what? It wasn't fresh, and it just didn't add the oomph that it needed to. So my thoughts on cumin is it's got to be fresh or from a high quality spice store. And even if you get the comino seeds yourself and toast them and then chop it up and make your own cumin, that's a lot of work, but it tastes really good. But if you just get some stuff that's pretty fresh, you should be good. So that's in there. So let's go ahead and add some more here. So this is a teaspoon of Mexican oregano. If you have it, throw it in there. It adds a nice little bit of flavor in there. If you don't have it, don't worry, but I recommend if you do have it. I'm going to throw in 2 tablespoons of cumin at this point. Normally, if I'm doing a long cook, I'll spare it until near the end, because it can also not do well in long cooks. But since this is only going to be about a 30-minute-ish cook, I don't think it's going to hurt anything putting it in right now. So we're getting a little bit of thickening right now. And like I said, we might need to add some more broth to this. So we'll have to have that in standby. I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper. I've got a half a teaspoon. I'm only going to put some of that in right now, maybe half of that. And we'll do a taste later. I'm also going to put in a fraction of some cayenne pepper here. I've got a half a teaspoon of it, but I didn't put it all in there. It's definitely going to be a season of taste. You don't want to kill your taste buds, and you don't want to kill taste buds of other people as well. In fact, now that this is all mixing together, let's go ahead and turn it down to low so it can simmer. You don't want to burn this stuff, so we're just going to go ahead and simmer it on low. And if it gets too thick, you definitely want to add more broth. I said that once, we're going to say it again. I'm going to go ahead and add the meat back in now. The meat will likely absorb a lot of this, and I don't want the meat to get scorched. That's one of the main reasons why you're going to put this on low and simmer it. The meat itself is cooked. It just needs time to absorb the flavors. That's it. And also the powders need time to cook as well. Otherwise, I would say, yeah, just heat this up, mix it, and it's done. This isn't sloppy joes. It's more complex than that. Otherwise, you would just heat it up and be done with it. Now I'm going to do something here for demo purposes. This is my chili. I don't expect you to do it, but if you accidentally did it, then I'm going to show you how to fix it. I'm going to actually add another cup of broth here to show what can happen if it gets too liquidy. You'll see that this basically looks like a soup. It looks like a swamp. And on its own, just simmering on kind of like a medium low or medium, it's not going to really steam enough to release all this liquid anytime soon. I mean, it could take, on high, it could take several minutes. On medium, you know, I don't know, it could take a half hour extra, hour maybe. It just really depends. So I'm going to show you how to add a cornstarch slurry towards the end to fix this. But by all means, I want you to have enough liquid to cover your meat, keep it from being pasty, but I don't want you to just dump a whole bunch at once and then now you got this mess. So if you need to add a little at a time. Okay, that's all. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on here and we'll let it continue to cook here. Oh, one question or thought I just had. You didn't see me adding any salt to this other than initially when I was salt and peppering the meat. That's because besides a little bit of salt that I put in the meat, the broth has salt. Chili powder generally has salt if it's a commercial. If you make it yourself, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you're buying commercial, which most people would do, it's going to have some, and then you really don't know how much is in the broth. So I usually just say salt to taste after this is all cooked, because what can happen is you can salt it now, it tastes good, and then if it reduces much, then it's going to be more intense flavor of the salt, and you don't want to ruin it like that. So we mostly just salt to taste on this show, if anything, for that reason. Okay, this has been cooking now for almost 20 minutes, and I'm just stirring a little bit more. Got quite a bit of liquid in here that's not going to reduce out of here. I do want a gravy because gravy is good on stuff, right? We don't want to just have meat. I'm not cooking this with beans, so at least the purists should be happy about that. Beans you can always add at any given time. And sometimes beans do well when you got quite a bit of liquid, and then you can go ahead and, you know, cook that down and stuff. But for this particular application, especially considering I want to make a chili dog, I don't want it to just be so watery or have to strain all this stuff out. So I definitely want to thicken this up. So I wanted to show you this. I'm going to make a cornstarch slurry. So what I've got here is about 1/3 of a cup of cold water, not hot, but cold water. I don't know, 75 milliliters. It's just an estimate. You don't want to add too much liquid because then you're just compounding the problem. But if you make it too little, then it's a paste. since I've got quite a bit, we've got what? At least a good 8 ounces of liquid in there that I don't really need, or somewhere in that part. I'm going to say a heaping, I don't know, teaspoon should pretty much eat that up. And I'm just going to whip this up pretty good. You can see, I don't know if I get this in here, that it's just a milky colored water pretty much. I just want to make sure I don't really have any lumps in there. I want to make sure it's all dissolved. The idea is if you put cornstarch directly into the hot, or if you use hot water, it's going to form lumps and it's a mess. Totally preventable. So you make your little slurry, and now that's all mixed up pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pour it in here, and we're going to go ahead and stir this up. And then what that cornstarch should do is it should start grabbing this. You could use flour. Cornstarch is a little more powerful than flour, I believe. Arrowroot is pretty cool because you can put arrowroot in there, and that stuff has like no flavor or anything. It just sucks up the moisture like a sponge. So sometimes in competitions, you know, that might be kind of a cool thing if you really have to. But the best thing to do is just cook it right the first time, right? So we're going to go ahead and stir this up a little bit as it heats up, because the liquid just, or the temperature just took a hit with that cold water. So it's going to come back to a simmer, and then it should start thickening up. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on there. And I definitely want to hit that before the end of my cook time. I don't want to wait until, say, oh, magically I'm going to cook this for 30 minutes and at the last minute hit that shot. I want to give it at least a good 5-10 minutes to work on it. And looks like it's starting to do some. The liquid is starting to feel a little heavier now. So I have high hopes. So this has been cooking now for about 30 minutes, and the cornstarch in my case has helped this thicken up a little bit. So it still looks like it's pretty liquidy, but really it's not. When I got this much meat, I want there to be a little bit of give with the liquid. So it's taking a little bit of force to kind of push all this around. I'm not exactly going to pass the spoon standing up by its own test, but I'd be afraid that if it did, then this would be scorched. It'd be very easy to burn this if there's no liquid at all in here. So I'm happy with this the way it is. I think this will make a fine chili dog, which is what I'm going to eat in a few minutes. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and take this off, and I'm going to go ahead and prepare a bowl to eat this just by itself. So if you followed everything so far and you've monitored how much broth you've added, you shouldn't require any thickeners. Also, previously I told you to kind of look out for how much seasoning to put in there in terms of heatness. The half a teaspoon of cayenne and a half a teaspoon of black pepper probably would have made this a little hotter than what I wanted. So putting in about a quarter teaspoon of each is good. If you guys have a problem with any heat, then by all means leave the pepper out totally, the black pepper and the cayenne. Otherwise, a little bit of each is kind of good, right? Gives us flavor and stuff. So let me go ahead and take this off, and we'll get it in a bowl. Okay, so now that I've got this in a bowl, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of cheese on the top, right? Because that just makes it taste so much better. So we just got a little bit of cheddar cheese on there, and now it's ready to take a bite. So now that the cheese is starting to melt just a little bit on the bottom there, this looks great. So I'm just going to go ahead and chow down on this, right? So hot. So we obviously have a lot of flavor from the chili powder. Can still taste the meat, but with the garlic, the onion all commingling in there, the cumin gives it that too many recipes out there where they don't put cumin in there, and I really don't understand. To me, you have to have cumin in chili. So I didn't put enough in there to where it's overwhelming, but it definitely adds some flavor. The cheese, of course, just gives it one more flavor in there that unfortunately Amy can't do unless she gets a non-dairy cheese. It's got enough of a heat, not enough to kill my face or anything, but my tongue is slowly warming up. And as I eat this, obviously the rest of my head's going to get going, but largely just because the chili itself is still quite hot, just coming off of there. So it's really good. If you're trying to cook something and it's cold weather, this is great. And as you saw, it really didn't take that long to cook, other than just browning some meat, getting the onions going, and then putting everything together and cooking it for 20 to 30 minutes. It's not that long at all. So I definitely give this my double thumbs of approval. And I hope you guys get a chance to leave some comments, try it as well, because I think it's definitely worthy. It's very flavorful, and I just think it's great. If you like this video, then please subscribe, leave a comment, like, all the good stuff. So subscribe below, leave a like and a comment, and visit our website at amylearnstocook.com. And also we're on Pinterest and Twitter at Amy Learns to Cook.